All right, so the next thing is a general remark about tuning reed organs. Unlike pianos, in which the octaves are stretched at the ends, reed organs are tuned by machine straight across. So you get yourself a tuner. This is a chord, GT120. This is a little chord, or you can use Piano Tuner, which is free app on your. I have it here somewhere. There it is. Okay. So it looks like that. All right. It's perfectly good. It's excellent. It works well. And it, as you see, if you speak into it, you'll see it move all over the place, right? Okay. All right. So the next thing you need to know about this organ, now that the reeds are clean and they're back in their proper places, is you need to know what is the original tuning of the organ. Reed organs were tuned everywhere from about 432 up to 455. Loring and Blake's are typically tuned at 450, 455. And a Civil War band aficionado explained to me, yeah, all Civil War bands, the brass instruments were at 450. So you have a bright organ that will accompany your town band. And Levi Fuller, the Jacob Estes' son-in-law, amassed the largest collection of tuning forks in the world. I don't know where they are, including Mozart's, Beethoven's, and Handel's. And he attempted, starting about 1880, to get A435 to be international pitch, and I think about 1885 that became true. So 430, typically SD organs are tuned at 435. I say typically because when I came over here, somebody asked me to tune a 1955 portable organ, and it was 446. All right, so.
How do you know that to such precision?
Okay.
You could sample one, but it might have shifted over the decades.
Exactly. So what you do is you want to set the tuner. I'm not going to use Piano Tuner for this because I'm not facile enough with it. But you set this tuner to tell you what the pitch of the organ is. And so you play a note. This is saying that, let's see, I'm playing a G, so it needs to be down to that, and you just play with it. Okay, so this is actually playing at 441. So I do that for all the notes. And
You mean
take
each note?
every note.
Each note separately.
For one stop. Okay, so in a divided keyboard organ, you'd have to pull the 8-foot stop on one side and the 8-foot stop on the other, and make sure that neither of them is a celeste. Okay, so then you just go through that, and then you make a guess. And you can average them, but it's much better just to make a guess. These are all about 434, 432,
And that machine normalizes whatever note you're playing?
No, it tells you what the pitch is. Let me back up.
I'm sorry.
So the A, on an 8-foot stop, the A above middle C should measure 440.
Correct.
Okay. So what this machine does is tell you what any pitch is in that 440 that is tuned to that 440. In other words, you hit the A, it'll register 440. If you hit the next A up, it will say 440, but it will be actually reading half of,
So the G,
220.
so the G is reading 441 even though it's not.
You're right,
Okay.
it's not that many hertz, but it's saying
That's
this,
its equivalent.
that's its equivalent in 440. Okay, so once you've established what the pitch of the organ is, you have to make a decision. Now, for that little portable I tuned earlier, the guy wanted it at 440, so I repitched the entire organ to 440. My inclination is to tune the organ to its original pitch. However, if you want to play with another instrument, like a piano, it's worth tuning it up or down. Right? It's tedious, but it can be done. And it has to be done with care, because you only get one shot. All right? Okay, so once you've decided what the pitch of the organ is, and this organ is essentially 440, so we played one note, it was 441, but it's essentially a 440 organ. The next thing to do then is to test a given read. Right? So I have my tuner set to 440. You can take piano tuner. If you go to settings, the top line is concert frequency, and it gives you choices. You can set it anywhere you want, and so I have it set to 440. Okay, and you use equal temperament tuning on the wording. Okay. I mean, so you can use mean tone or any of those other ones if you want, but I'm not sophisticated to know. Okay, so once you've established what the pitch of the organ is going to be, then you hit a note. Lights on here, and when both of them are going, then you're on pitch. Right? However, this note, which should be at 440, is reading 469. Right? So you reach under, and it's easier if you don't have the keyboard in the way. Pull out. Okay, you pull out the reed until you hear it stop. Once you have the reed out, you hit that note again, and making sure there's nothing but air going through there. So that cleans the air channel, but also make sure that you have the right reed. And that's funny, except that it happens a lot. That you go to pull a reed out and retune it, because it's not tuned, it's not sounding right, and whoops, it was the adjacent reed I just pulled and I just bought it. Okay, so this reed is very sharp, all right? Normally you wouldn't have that big a discrepancy. Okay. So
what's the pitch on that reed? What's the pitch on that reed?
You mean what is it supposed to be?
Yes. It's supposed to be a G. But it's not.
Yeah, it's actually a D reed.
Yeah.
Right. So
Considerably,
as I said, I had a set that would go in here because I didn't want to work on the ones that were in here. I took them out. Right. So this is a shill, right? All right. So the tools for tuning, and there are essentially 3 that I use. My favorite one is a 400 grit diamond needle file. It's round on one side and flat on the other. Right? And I use that because you can't make big mistakes with that unless you're working with very small reeds. For very large reeds, I use a point file. A point file. Go to your local auto supply store and get a point file. All right? A point file. So if you're working on sub-bass reeds, it would take you forever with a 400 grit. However, this bites hard. It bites a lot. It takes off a lot of brass. So you have to use it with care and only on the very lowest reeds. And for the very smallest reeds, I went to my dentist and I said, "Got any old picks?" And he said, "Sure, here's a handful." So I have a handful of dental picks, which turn out to be handy for all kinds of tasks in a reed organ, for picking up things that fall or getting bits of felt in the right place. But for tuning, they're essential. So those are the essential tools, those three.
That's the point file.
That's a point file.
Okay, thank you.
However, you can also make your own by taking popsicle sticks and wrapping emery cloth around and just gluing, so you have one surface on the edge and two flat surfaces, right? And you can get 400 and 600. I used a lot of 600 when I was first tuning because it goes very slowly, but you don't make big mistakes. All right? So I have a whole bunch of those, and I write on the end of the stick what it is. This is a 600 grit, and others I have 400 grits. I even have some 320s. So that's a cheap way to make a really good file, and they work well. The other thing you need is what's called a reed slip. So this is just a piece of aluminum sheet, fairly thin, but you can make the same thing out of the bottom of a turkey roasting pan. Just cut it out, make sure the edge is flat. That works just as well, or the bottom of a pie pan. And Craig Cowing here uses a razor blade, and that also works. The other thing you'll need is a little block of wood. And this little block of wood gets your work up off the table. So you have the reed there. You carefully slip the reed slip under the reed. Right? And you don't jam it towards the back. It just snug, because that's what you're going to file against. And then, what did we say? This was 769, so it needs to be flattened. Okay. So what we're going to do, and this may take all the rest of the morning. Remember the little girl who was told, actually it was a little boy, who was told to write the essay, a 50-word essay? And he thought, and he thought, and he thought. Finally he said, "I went to the door and said, 'Here, kitty, 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 kitty.'" All right, so we're using the 400 file. We're going to drop this reed. Now, something that you will have noticed if you've looked at many reeds is that there are generally some longitudinal scrapes on the reed. And that's because, on reeds that haven't been touched. I don't know if that's a good example. Yeah, all right. I'll just pass this around. So you'll see that scrape, that longitudinal scrape, and that's because the way reed work was done was all the reeds were tuned slightly sharp on a tuning jack, and then they were put in the organs, and then people came around afterwards with a reed scraper, which is simply a hook with a sharp end on it, and they would flatten the reeds to pitch. And they could reach in each chamber and go scrape. Good. Next. Scrape. Well, whatever the next note down is. Okay. So you'll see those scrapes on reeds that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what you're going to do, what did I do with it? Here it is. Okay, so we're going to take this now with a file, no matter what size or what coarseness, you do not want to file in one place, right? So you file across that whole, basically the bottom half, right? And you just file, because we got to drop this a bunch, all right? So you file a bunch. Take the slip out, take that out. Put it back in. Where's the hole? There's the hole. This was supposed to be a G, is that what I said? Yes. Let me test it again. All right, so we flattened it a little bit. Yeah, we got it down to 466 from 469. Okay, so you can see, using the 400 grit file, you know, it's good for us amateurs and even for professionals, but you don't take off too much at a time. And I tend to use the round side, but the important thing here is, remember, when you flatten the pitch on a reed, you're taking material from the thinnest part of the reed. And so you don't want to do that more than once. And therefore it's very careful to approach the pitch you want slowly. And so you may have to put that reed in there and take it out 10 times. After you've done that a few times, you'll get so that, oh, okay, I just need to go, that's all I need. If you want to sharpen a reed, you file the toe end. Right? Again, and for that you use the flat side of your file, and you file really the whole, probably the whole last third of the reed. So I file in one direction and then in the opposite direction, so crisscross. You never file the end of the tongue. You never file this off. Just you file on the top. And you have, every time you file, every time you do anything with the reed, you put the reed slip in. Okay? And then file it this way, this way. Right, so let's pick another reed here. Alright, so let's get this down to sharp, but actually it's a D that I'm playing. And it's at 440. Oh, all right. But, it's a D at 440. I don't have to do anything. Hey!
Is the temperature of the room all that important?
No. The temperature becomes important when you're working on the smallest reeds. So the top 2 octaves of a 4-foot or any 2-foot reeds. Jim Tyler will tell you have to put on cotton gloves, and you only hold, I don't have any reeds that small here, but you would hold with your thumb on the very heel and then have your slip in there. Now, on a 2-foot reed, the tongue is about as thick as a piece of tin foil. So you have to be very careful about how you insert that reed slip. And this isn't as small as... But then what I commonly do is only insert it that far, and that's fine. But on a high 4-foot or on any 2-foot, that will flip out and bend the reed. So you have to stick it in and move it to where it's right in the center, and then move it back against the bottom. Right? So a little bit like airplane wings. And then for the smallest reeds, I use the point of the dental pick. And again, if you want to flatten it, you scrape a little at this end, in the saddle, I call it, or you scrape a little at the other end to sharpen it. Right? But it only takes a scratch. Question?
Just looking.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So, yeah.
It's fine print.
So when I get to the finest reeds, I use one of these. My eyes aren't that good anymore. And it takes a tiny scratch to move a 2-foot reed a whole note. Wow. So, I mean, you really are just... So, I don't recommend trying to tune a 2-foot set. Now, on the Z56 that Artist Woodhouse will be playing at 1 o'clock this afternoon or 1:15, I tuned that last month, and it was pretty much on pitch. It's A435. But I tuned the whole organ, waited a week, tuned the whole organ again, waited a week, tuned the whole organ again. So if you really want to be accurate in pitches, you have to let the metal settle, because brass reacts to being filed or scratched. So does my cat. And it sort of